The first sort of port of call is Stratus, our front end, which is the drag and drop tool that allows you to put together the automations in the form of a flow chart. We've got some stuff on the website that kind of illustrates that. Not a huge amount. We've kind of demonstrated it mostly on live streams previously, but yeah, if you go to Stratus, so yeah, it loads up. There you go. So this is effectively what the front end looks like. You drag and drop different blocks in, and you connect them up through these connectors, which effectively creates creates a file. It creates a JSON file, in fact, and that holds the instructions that are then sent to what we call internally as a contract factory, and it generates a specific type of contract that is effectively a smart wallet. So that smart wallet or strategy wallet then can be accessed through Atlas, which is the consumer part front end. So anybody can use any of the tools that we've built. But Stratus is kind of for those that want to create the automations. You could just be, you know, an influencer, a creator, somebody that's got some great ideas that wants to make it available for people within the community, and then you can publish that to the Atlas front end. So Atlas, if we click on the link to Atlas, there should be a couple of screenshots there, I think, is effectively like a dashboard. So there's a few different components within that kind of make it useful. So portfolio tracking, you know, your current sort of status of profit and loss and things like that. But most importantly, you can search for and deploy automations that other people in the community have made. Also, if you've created an automation yourself and you make it private, then this would be the place that you go to effectively deploy it and manage it. So you would deploy the strategy, get it started. You could pause it, you could end it, you could restart it if it's completed, or just, in fact, you know, drill down in information to see what you know, what performance it's done over the course of the last, you know, month or couple of months or whatever it may be. So these are the two key elements to our user experience, if that makes sense. Well, a whole bunch of other stuff that happens in the background to facilitate it.
Yeah, it's just one of those pieces too, you know, for the people who are trying to use it. So we got a little bit about how it works, but if I'm a user and I say, okay, I want to automate the haunted strategy, or I want to automate some kind of, you know, liquid loan strategy or power city strategy or whatever's in the ecosystem, hex staking strategy. I want to maybe do something around ink with PulseX and farming and yield farming and stuff like that. What would the user, you know, how would they actually go about getting into the application to do it? What would they need to do it? And then maybe talk a little bit about the Tetra token as well and how it plays a role or not in automation.
Yeah. So to answer the first part of the question, we provide everything that anybody needs to want to create any kind of automation that they want. So the two core tools in our initial rollout are effectively Atlas and Stratus. So Stratus is the editor. That's kind of the tool that allows you to design your automation or put together your strategy through this very easy to use drag and drop interface. And what happens in there is that when you drag a block in and you tell it to go and look at, for example, the hex contract, what the system does is it recognizes what functions are available within the smart contract and allows you to visually program without a single line of code the things that you want each step within that automation to do. So, for example, you could say when the price of hex reaches X amount, then go to this PulseX liquidity pool or this FUX liquidity pool and buy this much of it. Or you could have it scan a few different pools, so it could buy up, you know, amounts in each of these pools if you didn't want to suffer too much slippage or whatever it may be. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do, and then once you reach your target amount that you want to kind of achieve at a specific price rate, let's say, or I mean, that could all happen in one go as well, of course, as the markets move up and down. But if you get your bag of hex at that price, and then you want to go and stake it, you can then automate that. You can stake it into a 12-month stake, or even create a staking ladder if you wanted as well, and then have the smart wallet or strategy wallet manage that on your behalf. So managing that is done through the Atlas front end as well. So you don't need anything more than what we're effectively providing in terms of these software tools.
So there's a so have you talked about the marketplace aspect too? Is there'd be like a few different strategies that have been maybe upvoted or otherwise available that people have used before? And then, if you want to use your own strategy, you can, but also you can just choose from ones that community has built.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in terms of that marketplace, anybody that creates their own strategy can publish that for the consumption of others. And the creators that choose to do that receive a very small sort of tip in the form of a fee, if you like, from the people that effectively use that strategy or automation. So you can create content that you only use yourself, or you can create content and publish it for public use within the Atlas marketplace or front end. So people can search for their favorite protocols and filter that to see what things they want to maybe do with those DeFi protocols. And if you wanted to automate it, you could filter it by that, your favorite or a few different types, to then be able to implement what's available that's been created by others.
And can you go through a scenario, for example, a lot of people might be using the PulseX farms, for example, to earn ink and things like that. They may be having hex stakes that they may have multiple stakes that end on certain days, or they want to do other arbitrage strategies. What is a thing that you could use Tetra for to automate, where you may be clicking a button every week or every day or every few hours that you would use Tetra to be like, I don't need to do that anymore. It just automatically does it for me.
Sure. So I mean, if you're in a farm and the farm's ended, I mean, I'll be honest with you at this stage, like quite honestly, we are not providing any kind of indicators as to when a farm might end. If it can be tracked, if a farm can be tracked on the blockchain to say that the farm has ended, then your automation would know to then go and do something with it, if that makes sense. So the only, like, just to make this clear, what we're doing is we're providing price information that feeds into the contracts. But if you have a situation where you can get on-chain data that triggers a next step, if that makes sense. So, for example, a farm ending, then as long as you can access the information to say that farm has ended, you can then have it trigger to go and do the next thing. So that could be to go and take your yield, create, go and put it into the next. Well, you would need to know what farm it would need to be, obviously, but sell your incentive token, sell your yield and take your profits. So it kind of depends what you really want to do with it.
Yeah, so for the farms, and then even for hex stakes and otherwise, like, I'm just trying to give people a tangible example of, okay, I can do all this stuff myself. Why would I use Tetra, for example? Like, what does Tetra do? Does it give me my time back? Does it make this process?
It does. I mean, that is ultimately one of the really key things. Is number one is giving you your time back, but again, not being in a position where you need to be constantly looking at your screen. Especially for things that are affected by price. So if price moves in a specific direction, and which it can do obviously in crypto and big ways, that if you want to take advantage of those situations, then Tetra is obviously a really great tool to do that. When you're involved in protocols that maybe have really complicated tokenomics and different things that you can do, and you have a really great idea about how you want to manage all of that, then this is definitely the tool for you. But I mean, obviously, time sensitive executions that are triggered by price is really one of the big things, and then taking that and going and doing something with it. But we're doing it in a decentralized way, and that's what's most important. Is that there are tools out there that allow you to swing trade a specific asset, for example. When it reaches this price, then buy so much. When it reaches that price, then sell so much, and so on and so forth. And, you know, it goes all the way across the chart. And you hope that you've, you know, come away with some profit at the end of it. What we're trying to promote is the ability to be able to take, you know, complex interactions and package it up in such a way that really makes it very simple for people to pre-plan the things that they want to happen, and regardless of, you know, the time that it takes for those situations to be present within the market as well. So, you know, you could create the most ridiculous automation that buys, sells, stakes, and does all of these different things that are out with kind of realistic expectations, so to speak. It might happen, but it might take 2 years, right? Or you might create a strategy within realistic expectations of the current market as it is at this time right now, and say, well, if I kind of narrow my expectations down a bit, then those things might execute themselves within a much shorter period of time. You know, so the contract itself will only execute things when the market conditions are met based on the information and the things that you tell it that you want it to do. So, you know, the great thing about that as well is that it forces you to think ahead, to pre-plan, you know, your kind of goals, if you like, and what you want to get out of the market, where it is at a particular point in time or over a very long period of time as well. So, and it's done in a decentralized way.
I think when I look at Tetra too, I could see a lot of people using it. I mean, just basically a small number, maybe 5 or 10% of people using Tetra will probably be making their own strategies. They'll be actually in the weeds thinking about these different ways. How can I make this more efficient? You know, how can I apply it to the protocol? Bringing people from different products who are interested. Hey, Power City guys, come create your strategies. You know, like Lone, come create your strategies. That's a really cool part of it. But I think that'll be a smaller percentage. Majority of people, I imagine, will just be looking at the community provided ones. They'll be saying, okay, I'm a member of this community. I have these coins. I have this staking or yield farming or minting or whatever it is. And I just don't want to manage it. I want this, you know, decentralized smart contract to manage it. And they could use Tetra for that, the majority of people. So I think having these different strategies, you know, on the screen too, you got PX staking ladder, you know, you get some different trading ones too. Having those available will really make it a lot easier for people who are just not technical. They just want an easier time managing their crypto. They want to maybe make more money because the strategy is more efficient than clicking themselves. Exactly. They don't need to set an alarm clock for it.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. That's the thing. So, you know what it's like when you're looking at the charts constantly. And that's good. It's good to be in the know. It's good to be, you know, in a position where you know what the market's doing. You need to have that. You need to have that valuable knowledge to be able to plan what you want to actually do, of course, right? But if you're sort of walking around with your phone and you check the price, maybe first thing in the morning, lunchtime, you know, when you finish work, and then maybe a couple of times in the evening, right? You can still have your finger on the pulse, so to speak, pun intended, right? But not have to run away and grab a hardware wallet and fire up your laptop and try and catch the dip, you know? So you can sort of bask in the glory of being able to sleep at night and not have to worry about, you know, getting the opportunities or the things that need to happen when you want them to happen, you know. So it's a big deal.
So that's a great visualization, just to, instead of walking around checking your phone, oh, the price, you know, went up at a certain time. You know, that's fine. I said, you know, I have the strategy deployed. Tetra's doing it for me. I don't need to go do anything. I don't need to like leave vacation early to go make sure some big trade goes through. Otherwise, like Tetra's got it. That's the hope, and that's like, it's like the vision, right? Like to automate a lot of these things where it gives you your time back, it gives your confidence back, you know, as long as everything's working properly.
Exactly, and that's it. So you know, we're in a position right now where literally everything's finished. We're ready to go to launch on testnet. We we were originally slated to launch at the beginning of September, but then we had the issue with the OKX situation, and we were actually partnering with Rubik, similar to Power City, to provide a DEX aggregator situation that we really need for our tool. And obviously we want to create as much of a closed loop as possible to keep the fees within our own ecosystem. And quite happy to share a bit of the DEX aggregator fees with Rubik, because they've got a great tool. But they obviously suffered tremendously because of what had happened. And, you know, it was a big issue for us. I mean, we just couldn't launch because the way that the system works, it was, especially for Atlas anyway, it was going to create a bit of a problem for that initial release. So during the course of that weekend, we decided, you know, we need to solve this problem. How are we going to do it? Are we going to wait for Rubik to come up with a fix to this? Or can we create our own DEX aggregator in a shorter period of time? Or even if it takes just a little bit longer, is it going to be worth it? So we said that we were going to go ahead and create the DEX aggregator. So we've done that. It's actually been in for audit, for security audit for the last couple of weeks. These guys are on the west coast of the US, so they're quite a bit in terms of time behind me, but we're due it back hopefully today. We get that green light and we're effectively ready to start rolling things out on testnet, and then mainnet imminently after that. So, you know, we're really, really close with, you know, just from the sort of, you know, I know what it's like in crypto. Everybody kind of needs to get their hands on it, see that it's working, it does what it says it on the tin kind of thing, you know. And we've been desperate to try and get everything out as quickly as possible, while jumping over as many hurdles that have been thrown in our way. But we're now in a position where we effectively rely on no other third party for anything, in terms of our product offering in the first instance, right down to the point where we've got our own RPC and archive node that is running, that is, you know, so even if Richard's stuff went down on AWS or wherever he hosts it, or whoever else provides any other public RPCs, if any of that stuff disappears, it has no impact on us whatsoever. So it was a good opportunity for us to take a step back and say, let's look at the current situation right now, because that was kind of a bit of a shock with the Rubik stuff. We wanted to be in a position where we did not rely on anybody else for anything, and we're now in that position, which is absolutely fantastic. So as soon as we get these security audits back for the DEX aggregator, which is pretty cool, we can talk about that as well. There's a few cool features in there. Then we're ready to release stuff on testnet, let people get their hands on it, get some feedback, but ultimately, you know, I want this on mainnet ASAP.
Yeah, I think everyone else does too. They're been excited about Tetra this whole summer, and it's just one of those products. Like literally, I'm very excited to play with as well. I'm literally, my thing is like I will spend money to get more time back these days. Like I'm tired of like saving money I'm spending time to save money. I'm on getting my time back and spending money on that, or spending time learning a platform that can help me do that. So very interesting.
And it's actually kind of quite fun to use as well, to be honest. Like the drag and drop interface, which I demoed a while ago on Stream with Lit, and who else was on there?
I was there. It's lit.
Oh, so you were. That's a big pardon.
So.
Yeah, that's right. For a short time, that's right. Yeah. So and Kool-Aid and Corey Geary was there as well, I think, which was great. So that was a really good opportunity to let everybody. But the point I'm trying to make is it's actually quite fun to use, and it gives that visual layer to the blockchain that you've never really experienced before, you know. And I think it's very intuitive, and people will enjoy using it, and it'll help to get adoption, and you know, I hope that's the case. I'm sure it will be. But getting your time back for a small fee is surely worth it.
Speaking of fees, I want to get into a couple questions too. So will Tetra only do a trade if the profit outweighs the 0.5% fee?
No, it doesn't. And the 0.5% fee, as I've said in the past, is we are listed. We've been listening to the community. We've not came up with a final number on it. We're going to kind of wait. I want it to be reasonably priced, obviously, but the bottom line is that the fee that's associated with using the platform is not, so the action that needs to be performed is not controlled by whether you make a profit less the fee. So you need to think about when you're programming it that you need to have enough appreciation and value, or enough return and yield from a stake or a farm or whatever it may be, that outweighs what the fee is. But I mean, the fee's small. We're talking about 50 cents within $100 of a move. So, you know, it's really nothing.
And well, speaking of that, you want to talk about the tokenomics a little bit, and where the fees go and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the fees go to those that stake Tetra token. You don't need to hold Tetra token to use the protocol. It's completely separate. It has no impact whatsoever on your ability to be able to simply just use the tools that we provide. So
I'm just pulling up the chart here of Tetra P.
Yeah, so the tokenomics are really very straightforward, Max. You stake your Tetra tokens in the Tetra pool to receive yield in stable coins from users that use the software. It's really that simple.
And when you stake your coins, how does that, what happens then?
There are no time locks. You can add and remove coins. You can use your yield to buy more if you want, and just keep adding to it. You know, it's really up to yourself. There's no limitations in terms of what you can do. You will take them all out and sell them, whatever you want. So there's no tax in the system whatsoever as far as a Tetra token is concerned. It really is quite as simple as, if you hold, acquire, or earned Tetra tokens, you can stake them to get a proportionate share in the fees that are generated by the software tools. I mean, and it's that simple. You can remove them, you can add them. There's no penalties. There's no, no nothing. It's just stake, get fees, unstake, don't get fees. It's really that simple.
And are the fees, are they more Tetra? Are they stable coins? How are they?
It's all stable coins. So the point is that from a user's perspective of the protocol, whether you're using Atlas or Stratus or any of the other things that we build, you will never need to hold our tokens to use our tools. You will simply just pay fees in the form of a portion of, so for example, in the DEX aggregator, a portion of your overall swaps, for example, or in gas or whatever it may be. Or when it comes to utilizing the strategies, you need to have stable coins in your smart wallet that pays for the fees as and when each step of automation actually takes place. So those fees are collected in stable coins and delivered to stakers in stable coins.
Gotcha. Crypto Ethos, so can I dictate a date or amount in the strategy wallet regarding a specific yield farm to move somewhere else that I dictate, that I choose?
As long as the yield farm exists at the point when the yield farm that you're exiting, at that time, and that's why it's a bit more tricky with kind of yield farms, because they kind of come and go. But if you can stake into a yield farm that's perpetual, for example, or is going to be there for a long time, kind of like DAI, Pulse, the big pools kind of thing, they're always going to be there, right? At least that's what we hope anyway, that you can move in and out of those as long as they exist. And of course, at the same time as well, you can. So here's another use case then for yield farming. Neil's dropped off. I don't know what's happened to him. He must have lost signal, but he would have been a much better person to answer this question, because I know he does a lot of this sort of stuff. But,
come back, Neil.
Yeah, I know. But in essence, if you wanted to move around in yield farms, right? As long as, and Neil would be able to answer this question better than me, but as long as the percentage of yield could be calculated by the on-chain information that was available, you could automatically move your assets around, let's say, RH products, right, to take advantage of the best yield within a particular pool or farm at any given time. So, the point I'm trying to make here is that as long as you can get access to the information on chain, And I mean, these may, so put it another way, this is something that the community might turn around to us and say, well, we can't get the on-chain information about the yield that you can get in a specific farm. Stu, team, guys, can you provide that additional information of off-chain info that we can deliver to our smart contract? Yeah, so that you can actually then have an automated manager in moving around different yield farms to take advantage of the best yield at any given time, and automatically, in an automatic way. So that is, I mean, these things are absolutely possible. This specific question is kind of difficult for me because I don't know if the percentage yield information is actually available through the subgraph. If it's available through the subgraph, then we can deliver it through our internal oracle, if that makes sense, to provide those trigger points of percentages, so that people can utilize a strategy that takes advantage of a percentage change, and then it opens up like a total can of worms in terms of what you can actually do with that information, you know?
Yeah, it's another one too that I think Neil's talked about before. But yeah, can we automate off-ramping stable coins onto a DEX or wallet? I think he's even talked about like kind of like passive income, setting up strategies to pay yourself over time with profits from strategies or otherwise from your wallet. So that sounds like a thing that can exist. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have been in discussions with Coast, for example, as far as their stablecoin on ramp is concerned, and it's not going to be a feature that would be available right at the very start, just because I think there's some limitations on what they wanted to provide as an SDK. I don't think they would mind me talking about this publicly, but we kind of had to work out a workaround to make it work, and we know what that is. So they've got some stuff that they're doing. We're obviously getting ready for launch. We want to get into a position where we've got a live product out, and then we're starting to add in some of these really nice to have features. So the great thing about Tetra is that it's a really modular system from a development perspective, and it allows us to add these nice to have features that we've kind of promised. So yeah, I mean, it'll be there. Yeah.